So we know that people with disabilities, their carers and families often face huge challenges that make navigating day-to-day life difficult. With the introduction of the Care Act last year, we had identified a need for better information and for advice for people with disabilities and their carers. There's a lot we've already done within our adult care services and with learning disabilities and also with the children's services, but there's always so much more that we could do. By providing detailed information on the access features of venues and public spaces, disabled people can make an informed judgment about the suitability of access. We really hope other partners will add their own guides in Hertfordshire to help increase independence and choice for our disabled residents.
Now, one of the things Gregory was really keen to do was to make sure when we were developing this resource that we talked to lots and lots of disabled people, carers, organisations, older people to say, you know, if we're going to produce this website, what do you want to see on it? And so my colleague Dean will show you an example on the screen and he'll talk you through it, but you'll see that there's lots and lots of detail there, but there's no piece of detail that's there by chance. It's all come from people saying, for me, knowing that there's that shelf to keep stuff sterile, knowing which side the transfer space is, knowing what training staff have had, it's because people have told us that it's important, and that's why you'll find it on our resource. On our website, we've listed access information to over 125,000 places across the UK. So it's from my point of view, if you haven't got the information to make the practical choice about going somewhere, as much as you want to get involved, you're not going to do it. So, you know, if you've got a huge directory that says these are all the support groups and community groups you can go and visit for different activities, you're not going to do that if you can't park your car, get in the door, use the accessible toilet. And so we saw it as a great way of really joining all that work together and making it inclusive for everybody.
Here is our detailed access guide to the Central Library. So we've got photos right at the start, and then we've got the symbols that the venue has been awarded. If you scroll down, the access guide is all in different sections. So probably the first thing you'll see is the parking. And in each section we try to take photos, so if you don't want to look at all the text, perhaps you just want to look at the photos and that will give you all the information that you need. But in the parking section we look at how many accessible bays there are. We do actually measure them as well and tell you if there's any drop-off on the back or on the sides. So if you're coming in an adapted vehicle and you need to transfer out the side or the rear, you can be confident by looking at the pictures and the measurements that actually that parking space is going to be suitable. But at the entrances we're looking at whether there's steps or a ramp to actually get to the entrance. And if there are, how many steps are there? What's the height of the step? Are there any handrails? Any contrast markings on the steps? Similarly, if there's a ramp, what's the gradient? What's the length? What's the width? And again, are there handrails present? Once we get to the doors, we start to look at, are they automatic? Are they manual? Are they push, pull? Are they single? Are they double? And once we get into the venue, we start to look at different things. So we'll also look at things like lighting levels and background noise and music. And if there is background noise and music, what are the staff going to say if you, for example, say to them, is it okay to turn that down or off? What are their attitudes like towards that? We also look at signage and wayfinding and how that's all presented. And if information is available in braille or large print or audio in any different format, we'll cover that as well. We try to take pictures as well of every element once you're inside a venue, because it's important to know how much space there is once you get into a venue, particularly if you are a wheelchair user. So we look at things like the furniture as well. So are the table and chairs movable? If, for example, there's a large party of wheelchair users coming to the venue. We have also covered the level change. So, for example, there's steps in the library to go up to the second floor. There's also a lift. So we've covered the steps separately. And then the lift is also covered. And in the lift section, we're looking at how wide the doors are, how wide the space is once you go into the lift, if there's a mirror to aid reversing, any audio announcements, tactile markings, all that sort of thing is covered. So the first thing we look at is the location of the toilet. So where is it in relation to the main entrance? Do you need a key to get into the toilet? And if you haven't got a key, is there a member of staff that you can get that from? We then look at how wide the door is, which way the door opens, how much space there is in the toilet as well, so what's the manoeuvring space, what side the transfer space is on, how high and how low all the fixtures and fittings are, like the sink, the hand dryer, if there's a full-length mirror, and also if that pull cord is actually to the floor. We do also look at the colour contrast in the toilet as well, so what's the lighting levels like when you get in there, and also the colour contrast between the walls and the fixtures and fittings and the door as well, just in case somebody uses it who's got a visual impairment and they might not be able to identify the different fixtures and fittings.
It's your service, it's our service, and we want it to be the best. Thank you very much indeed.